Good morning.
Good morning. May we bow our heads, please, and pray. We invite the Almighty to this seminar. May you bless the leadership of the University of Zimbabwe and Zimra. May you also bless those of us who are going to present to this seminar. May you give everyone the knowledge and wisdom to contribute to this seminar also. May you bless the partnership that we are forging between the University of Zimbabwe and Zimra. In the name of Jesus we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Dr. Mzondo. Now we are at a tech seminar, so basically we are with the Zimra officials and the UZ officials. So what I will do is to first of all have introduction on the guests that we have from Zimra, and that will be done by Miss Izwirashe Muonwa from Zimra.
Thank you very much, Dr. Matamande. You've heard my name, Izwirashe Muonwa, and what an exciting morning that awaits us this morning as we engage in very important issues regarding nation building. You can agree with me that at some point you and I are taxpayers. I would like to first salute our VIPs. Let me acknowledge the presence of the UZ Vice-Chancellor, Professor Paul Mapumo, the Zimra Commissioner General, Ms. Faith Mazani, she's here, the Dean of Commerce Faculty, Dr. David Madzikanda, the UZ Executive, Zimra Executive, UZ students. Allow me, Professor, to just say ahoy, students. It's so exciting being young. Okay, you know, I was young at some point and I was actually a UZ student, but you see, age is catching up with me. But my task is quite simple this morning, just to introduce the Zimra team that we have. I will just introduce the VIPs first, and then I will introduce the rest as well. I will start with to your left. We have our Commissioner for Domestic Taxes, Mr. Ramik Masaire. Say, may you please stand up and face the audience and just wisdom. Thank you so much, sir.
I've just been reminded that I should also say.
We also have Mr. Joey Shumbamini. Mr. Shumbamini is the Director for Strategy, Modernization and Research at the Zimbabwe Revenue Authority. This is our strategist. And then we also have Mr. John Chakasikwa. He is the Executive Assistant to the Commissioner General. Thank you so much, sir. I would also want to single out Zimra executive members here. We have Mr. Shamimoyo, he's the Director for ICT. Thank you so much, sir. We have Ms. Tembile Chakunda. She's Acting Director for Legal Services. Thank you, madam. We have Ms. Rose Chikonzo. She's representing the Commissioner for Revenue Assurance and Special Projects. Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Kagande, he is our procurement guru. Thank you, sir. Mr. Tapiwa Manyika is from Loss Control. Thank you so much. May I also introduce the Team Zimra, those who have graced us today. If you are from the Zimbabwe Revenue Authority, just stand up, please. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. We have a team of experts from Zimra. Thank you so much. Over to you, Dr. Matamande.
Thank you. I will not introduce the university team. I suppose you know them, but I will recognize the Vice-Chancellor. He's with us here. I will also recognize the Pro-Vice-Chancellor Academic Affairs, Professor Rosemary Moyana. I will also recognize Pro-Vice-Chancellor Strategic Partnership and Industrialization, Professor Charles Mbowa. I will recognize Executive Director, Quality Assurance and Professional Development, Professor Chipo Ganda. I will recognize Executive Director, Research and Innovation, Professor Florence Mtamanengwe, probably in absentia. I don't seem to see her here. I will also recognize the librarian, Dr. Chikonzo, the BESA, Mr. Jamini, the deans present. I will also, of course, recognize the chairpersons here present, lecturers, and of course the students. Thank you for coming.
I did not forget to introduce my Commissioner General. I'm going to come back and introduce her in a very, very special way.
Now, to kickstart the program, I will now, at this juncture, call upon the Vice-Chancellor of the University of Zimbabwe, Professor Paul Mapfumo, to give a welcome remark. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director of Ceremonies. The Commissioner General Zimra, Ms. Mazani, we want to acknowledge your presence. The Zimra commissioners here present, I want to acknowledge your presence. The Zimra executive and the officials here present. The Pro-Vice-Chancellor Academic Affairs, Professor Rosemary Moyana. The Pro-Vice-Chancellor Strategic Partnerships and Industrialization, Professor Charles Mbowa. The Executive Director, Research and Innovation in absentia, Professor Mtambaneng. The Executive Director, Quality Assurance and Professional Development, Professor Chipo Ganda. University Deans of Faculties, our professors. I should first acknowledge Dr. Chikonzo, our librarian, Mr. Kamin, our BESA, the registrar here represented by the Deputy Registrar of Human Resources, the Deans of Faculties, senior university officials, our very important constituents, the students. I'm very happy to see you in these numbers, and you deserve to help us clap for you. We look like we are at the university, so we want to welcome you so warmly and appreciate your presence as students. I want to single out the Dean of Commerce, Dr. Matskanda, who is our host today, and directors of institutes, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. Well, first, I think I want to say, when I've traveled to many countries, but as I traveled to Europe in particular, I used to lead other African teams to do different things. Then we would get into these European countries. people would get into a bus, get into a train, get into a particular place and say, I forgot to pay. And they go back and pay. I didn't take my ticket. They go back and do it. But when I had my colleagues, I don't want to say from which countries and so on and so forth, they would say, do you know you can go for a week without paying on a bus? Professor, why are you buying that book of tickets? Do you know you can just use one? Do you see the different orientation? Right. So, when it comes now to responsibility, we want to build such a culture in Zimbabwe. And so I will not try to interpret it in Zimra terms, they will. The other part that I thought I would mention before I said the welcome remarks is the demystification of what tax is. Just to be able to know that here we can, even at the university, allow people to say, you don't pay fees, your child will not pay fees, your relative will not pay fees. Anyone you know who is close shall not pay fees. But we want services that are really up to there. So who pays? All of you are my relatives actually, the students. They're my very close relatives. So you don't pay fees. So who pays? I think I make my point. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is therefore my pleasure to welcome you all, in particular the Zimra team, to this seminar. It is quite fitting that this seminar is being held at the University of Zimbabwe. Given the university's central role in higher education delivery in the country, we are quite delighted to be hosting this very important seminar. It gives us an opportunity to learn more about the work of Zimra and its tax collection mandate, and also to explore opportunities for us to work closely together in the future, maybe now and in the future, as we implement in the higher education sector our Education 5.0 that has been set by government. One of the things that this does in Education 5.0 is that we want to use to convert our creativity into wealth. That's what we call innovation to the students. It's a very simple definition. If you convert your creativity into wealth, you are innovating. If there is no economic dimension to your creativity, there is no innovation. Used it to lectures, so that's a piece of a lecture. And to industrialize. To industrialize is to start new companies. Is to start new generation of enterprises. Is to grow our industrial and commercial base. That should have implications. We are therefore best placed to be talking to Zimra in that context, especially as we embark on that path. And I think this is a new beginning. So as Zimra comes here, they will see that they are catching them young as students. But I think they are doing much more. They are catching the program young as we embark on industrialization as a university. So if they, I would invite you, Madam Commissioner General, that you have a copy of our strategic plan so that you see some of the outcomes that we've set upon ourselves to deliver, and that should have a statement on the implications on our collaboration in research, our collaboration in training, our collaboration in mentoring these young people, and our collaboration in extending the mandate on our tax obligation, as we try to be an upper middle income economy, which is our responsibility as a country to deliver that vision. The timing of the seminar is also therefore most opportune in the context of our National Vision 2030. I'm made to understand that the coverage of the seminar has been specially tailored to share knowledge on tax issues. I'm hopeful that you will all come out with take-home messages and in a way that helps advance the country's vision. Ladies and gentlemen, the government has to carry out extensive reforms in the taxation area. We need to collect more revenue so that we can finance the budget from domestic resources more than at present. I think from my first introductory remarks, I think we can all agree that we have a responsibility. And what I particularly want to embrace upon is that we want our students to learn more about responsibility, to learn less about complaining, to learn more about proffering solutions. Because complaining is easy. When you came, I was outside. When you set the exams, I think nobody heard you. Why do we write today and not tomorrow? You can always have excuses, 101 reasons for having excuses. So I think as we nurture our students that I'm particularly interested in, I think we want to inculcate that culture. The university is seriously working on implementing its new strategic plan, 2019 to 2025. And the strategic objectives include the reviewing, streamlining, and introduction of new undergraduate and postgraduate programs. And as our partners, please tell us which programs you want to see on through the respective deans. Don't be shy of even giving us your proposed outlines for those programs. This is a place of thinking, a place of learning. We'll always put it into perspective, realign it, rationalize it, but get value from it. So I would want to urge Zimra to make its contribution. This is the most opportune time as we are reviewing all our programs, including the methods for delivering those programs. We are at your disposal, therefore, in these activities. We take it that it's paramount that the university plays its role in identifying critical areas that can enhance the effectiveness and efficiency with which your department, your organization can move itself forward. Universities are about developing cutting edges. And it's really in the literal sense, cutting edges. The reason why we say cutting edge technology, cutting edge knowledge, cutting edge something, it's because you are not blunt. If you don't have a university in a country, then you are likely, your sharp edges get blunt. So our idea as a university is to sharpen those edges. And that's what we are here to do. Madam Commissioner General, I therefore want to, with these remarks, to say enjoy being at the University of Zimbabwe. You really feel honored that you were able to come in full force to talk to us, to educate us, and to share with us. And in my conclusion, I want to also thank the organizers of this event through the Faculty of Commerce, that this is more of what we expect to see. So this should be only but the beginning of such engagement. I thank you very much.
Can we continue giving him a round of applause? Thank you so much, Professor Mapfumo. I hope you are not going to be among those who say, do you know that you can run a business without paying taxes? We should all meet our obligations for the nation building of Zimbabwe. The theme of this tax seminar, ladies and gentlemen, students, is Catch Them Young. And we are looking at the future generation of Zimbabwe. You know, it's good to be young, as I told you. This is also the very first launch of engagement with students. So, University of Zimbabwe, consider yourselves highly blessed. You know, when we were students, we used to say, like I said, it's so exciting being young. We used to say, there are only 2 universities in Zimbabwe. There's University of Zimbabwe and others. So, I think we've come to the first University of Zimbabwe. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce someone very important. And the lady I will introduce is the Commissioner General of the Zimbabwe Revenue Authority since February 2018. She has 37 years experience in revenue administration, covering customs, both direct and indirect taxes. Having served at senior management levels in different administrations in Southern Africa. She joined the then Department of Taxes in January 1983. That's quite a long time. I was born in 1984. And was one of the first revenue commissioners of the Zimbabwe Revenue Authority at its inception in 2001. She served as Revenue Commissioner for Region 1 and 2, and as Commissioner Projects and Planning. She left Zimra in February 2007 and joined the South African Revenue Services as Senior Manager in October 2007, after a brief stint as Senior Tax Manager at Deloitte and Touche, Zimbabwe. She left SARS to become Swaziland Revenue Authority's Commissioner for VAT when it started in 2011. And before rejoining Zimra in 2018, she was previously the Regional Revenue Administration Advisor for the International Monetary Fund, IMF, Regional Technical Assistance Center for West Africa, based in Ghana. In a previous job, she delivered and coordinated technical assistance and capacity building support in 6 non-Francophone countries in West Africa, being Cabo Verde, Ghana, Liberia, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, and the Gambia. Ladies and gentlemen, students, please help me welcome Ms. Faith Mazane, the Commissioner General of the Zimbabwe Revenue Authority. Thank you, ma'am. Yes, we can give her a standing ovation. Thank you, you can sit down.
So I might as well just go and sit down because thank you very much, Izwi, for that. But today, when this introduction is being given, I was talking to the Vice-Chancellor that I'm coming back after 37 years of being a student at the UZ. So it's really an emotional time.
But let me go back to my speech, because if I don't, I may actually become very emotional. Right, sorry, where are the salutations? I'm very uncomfortable with speeches, actually. I like to speak from my heart. Okay. Directors of Ceremony, the University of Zimbabwe Vice-Chancellor, Professor Paul Mafumo, the Dean of the Faculty of Commerce, Dr. David Mazikanda, and would like to thank you very much for initiating this engagement between our two institutions, because this came from a meeting that we have already had. The University of Zimbabwe executives here present, University of the Faculty of Commerce lecturers, esteemed guests from the university community. Special mention goes to the UZ students here present, because you are the reason for this tech seminar. Ahoy, students. Ahoy. I'm learning the ropes. I like being young. Having been a youth pastor in the Methodist Church, I always liked it when I have to go down and engage and feel very young as the members that I was working with. So I'm feeling very young because I feel the age of the students. Let me also acknowledge the presence of Zimra management and staff, members of the media fraternity who may be here with us, distinguished and invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a very good morning. It gives me pleasure to welcome you to the inaugural tech seminar, which is being co-hosted by the University of Zimbabwe and the Zimbabwe Revenue Authority. Like I said, it's nice to be back 37 years after completing my studies and to give back to an institution that built me. When I came to the university in 1980 at independence, that was actually before independence, we were the first students of the University of Zimbabwe, because it was University of Rhodesia. Or it was actually the University of Zimbabwe, Rhodesia after that. Before that, I was one of the privileged students supported by the World University Service, and we were the last. And I remember 2 weeks ago, I was talking to a colleague, just reminiscing on the life that we had at university. And a lot of us coming from the rural areas, I was coming from Mondoro, being a daughter of a peasant farmer. The diet that we had at the university then was one that we never knew. We actually used to select whether a wing or of a chicken, you know, and we would have 2 eggs and bacon and sausage for breakfast. Wow! It was the best menu. It was a 3-course meal. And we never used to do our laundry. I was staying at Swinton. That was the ladies' hostel. And the only other one was Manfred Hall. New Hall came, I think, after we started. And our sheets would be changed and washed through laundry. I don't want to ask how things are now. But the question that is pertinent to us today, who funded that? It was the World University Service, which we were receiving up to the time we were independent, supported by taxpayers in the UK and other countries. Taxpayers. And it ended with independence. And then came the program where people would get grants and then they had to pay. And as the Vice-Chancellor has explained, our culture is not to pay. That fund died because people never paid. They found ways around not paying. And that's why we are where we are today. Let me acknowledge and thank, I'll leave that as homework, to our students and to our members who are here, who are working, who are not paying their taxes. To really rethink of what kind of life we need to give to our university students. And those to come when the students that are here are working. I would first of all want to acknowledge and thank the university management and staff, specifically Professor Paul Mafumo, for accepting our request to hold this inaugural tech seminar at the university premises. This is the first of the so many seminars we are scheduled to hold at all the universities and other tertiary institutions in Zimbabwe. It is all part of Zimra's new strategic thrust of engaging with the people of Zimbabwe, the academia, the business community, and captains of industry, among others, in order to build a stronger partnership for the benefit of the economy at large. We believe it is through these initiatives that we are able to engage and dialogue with different sectors of the economy, educating them on the importance of tax and revenue compliance. So I would once again want to thank the professor, the Vice-Chancellor, and the Faculty of Commerce, led by Dr. Mazikanda, for buying into our vision, which has seen us today holding this tech seminar. Just to go highlight on the objectives of the tech seminar, allow me to turn to the theme for the tech seminar, which you have heard from Ms. Muonwa. We are actually running with the theme, Catch Them Young. This is because, having finished my degree in business studies and working for the government in 1983, that was my first time to hear about tax. So this theme speaks to our thrust of engaging all our future leaders who are in primary schools, secondary schools, and all the institutions of higher learning. Students, you are the future anchors of our economy, and as such, you need to have a strong appreciation of how the success of economies the world over is hinged on tax compliance by its citizens. You can agree with me that generally, the taxman is seen as the taxwoman is seen as an enemy, and it is also our effort through such seminars to dispel such myths and educate everyone in Zimbabwe on the importance of taxation and paying our taxes. I would like to believe that after this seminar, we will all appreciate that taxation is the key to economic development. In our work, like I said, we depended on the World University Service to support our one university that we had. But as you know, we now have two universities, the University of Zimbabwe and others. Having added the others and having more universities with more hostels and other students staying outside, the task on our shoulders is much bigger to support and groom a student who is going into the market and contribute positively. The focus that we have as the Revenue Authority is that we are moving towards domestic resource mobilization, where we don't want our minister and our government to go begging. And this is why it is important for us to ensure that we pay our fair share of the taxes that the government requires to support our institutions and the education sector as a whole. Vice-Chancellor, ladies and gentlemen, it is therefore part of our calling to explain to the young generation so that they understand what role they have to play in the economic development of our country, Zimbabwe. The young generation are definitely going to be the decision makers of tomorrow and even today. They are going to start companies and businesses. And to this end, it is important that they know the tax obligations associated with running businesses, or just by being an employee and understanding why tax is being deducted from your salary. You still have to contribute to the fiscus. And on our part, we believe engaging them at an early age will help in building the trust which should always exist between the authority and its valued clients. We are so sure that with this kind of engagement, we will be able to demystify some of the misconceptions that people have about Zimra and about paying taxes. We are going to dispel the fears and anxieties that the people have about tax paying in general. It is our considered belief that through constant engagement, your feedback will assist us to be a better organization which serves its clients in a more responsible manner. Let me also challenge you as students, and especially as we are partnering with the Department of Commerce and the Departments of Commerce and Law. We are going to have accountants who are going to be responsible for developing or drafting tax computations and accounts for businesses. Some of you are going to have to do tax planning, but let me explain the difference between tax, the nature of tax planning. There is tax avoidance where you use the law, but a lot of our accountants are engaged in tax evasion, which is what the professor, the Vice-Chancellor was talking about, how you can avoid to pay tax. As accountants and auditors, you will be responsible to ensure that you conduct proper due diligence for the businesses that you'll be working for. Let me emphasize, and I have had a discussion with Mrs. Chiri, our Auditor General, that one of the responsibilities that we would ask her to help us with is to ensure that companies, including parastatals and government institutions, are in line with good corporate governance. And tax is one of the areas of good corporate governance. And as businesses, tax planning is not about tax officers, it's not about bribing tax officers or knowing someone in the levels of authority so that you don't pay tax. Good corporate governance is paying what you are responsible and required to pay. With those few remarks, I would want to thank all of you for coming to this seminar, and to thank the university and the Vice-Chancellor for giving us this opportunity. And I urge all of us to participate fully so that we all benefit from the tax seminar. I wish I could say this is a seminar for students, but with the non-tax paying culture that we have, I know a number of our university staff will benefit. And I thank you.
Another round of applause for the Commissioner General. Thank you, Commissioner. She's one of our own, and I think what she has said resonates well with what we have and probably what is happening around. So one question that she asked is, Shakamira say, how is it now? So for it to be restated, we obviously have to pay tax. That's what she said. And the culture is to start now. We have a presentation by one of the lecturers from the Faculty of Commerce, Mr. Tanga Tafshia. He will give a presentation on these tax issues. Mr. Tafshia, can you come forward, please?
Let me start off by overriding on welcome remarks from the directors of Ceremonies, because I've got limited time. I'm going to make a presentation on the issue to do with the tax compliance, and the topic reads as follows. Empirical investigation of the determinants of tax compliance in Zimbabwe. And the focus of this study was on small to medium enterprises. That was the area of concern. So the study was not concerned much about the payee, neither was actually looking into other taxes, but it was income tax, so to speak. Okay. So the issue of tax can be traced back to past periods. I still remember Zacchaeus was the tax collector. So it's not something new, and it should not be something which we need to say maybe is starting now. It is something which is very old, if I can say. Then I've borrowed this concept. I think you can help me. The volume of contents in these shapes, I borrowed this from geography. If you can see shape A and shape B, those two shapes, they are of the same area, but they are looking different. With shape A showing us that the length and the width are different from a length and width of shape B. So allow me, probably I need. So allow me to say shape A is a rectangle, and it is measuring 4 meters by 5 meters with a width of 5 meters, and the height is 4 meters, but it still gives me 20 square meters in terms of area. Then shape B, it measures, is the other way around. It measures 2 meters and 10 meters, then that one 4 meters and 5 meters respectively. But both they measure 20 square meters, so to speak. What is that I'm trying to bring home here? Let us assume that the y-axis is the tax rate, and the x-axis is the number of taxpayers. That is the number of people who are paying tax. So shape A resembles that taxpayers are being taxed at 2%, but a number of taxpayers like 10 are paying tax if they are being taxed at 2. But shape B, taxpayers are being taxed at 4%, but we are only having half of them complying. So this is the mathematics which I have borrowed from geography and from our ordinary level mathematics, right? So I would ask the Commissioner General probably to ask, which shape do you prefer as a model of taxing your taxpayers, Commissioner General?
On behalf of the Commissioner General. Okay, I'll hand it over to you.
Sorry, I may have missed the explanation, but I will tell you something that you have to fit in the shapes. If we can have, well, we believe in equity in taxing. So I would prefer the equal sides, the almost equal sides. That one, I don't know what they stand for, because I missed the explanation. The point I want to emphasize is, let's all pay our taxes equally. I don't know whether that's what you were looking for, and sorry I have to dash out, but equity action.
Sorry, I noted a Commissioner General was busy talking to the Vice-Chancellor while he was delivering that. That's why I was quick to say on her behalf. I see she was taken into that conversation. Basically what we would, and which is why we're here, we would want as many people to pay taxes. The more people pay taxes, the less in terms of the burden that we share amongst ourselves. In other words, if we grow the tax base, which is that you're seeing there, if the tax base is wide, we are all going to share the burden, which means the tax rates will be lower. So if you look at the two shapes that you have, this one, your y-axis, yeah? Sorry, your x-axis. If you have less people paying tax, because the shapes have the same area, which is the same yield of tax that the economy probably requires, it means you're going to have to ramp up your rate of taxes. So the less people pay taxes, the more rates that we have to impose to the people. The more people pay their taxes, the less the rates that we. So in other words, if we were to extend tax payment from the formal sector, I'm not being practical in this case, from the formal sector to include the informal sector, it means we are sharing the burden. More people are paying taxes, we are receiving more taxes. We don't need to up the tax rates. So we're going to have to reduce the tax rates, and it becomes easy for everyone because it's less tax burden for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much for a positive response. So this study seeks to investigate what determines the taxpayer's compliance. This is the start. So this is the introduction of the subject or the research. Our government is seeking ways to improve efficiency in tax revenue collections, but small to medium, which is my area of concern in this case, small to medium enterprise, the majority of them are the taxpayers in Zimbabwe. And according to Maseko, they account to 95% of the organizations which are in Zimbabwe. And they are supposed to contribute 50% of our taxes, as you can see by Maseko. But Zimbabwe has 3.5 million small to medium enterprises, with only 2% of all these paying taxes to Zimbabwe Revenue Authority, according to Dlamini. So it means that some, probably 98%, are not complying to tax. But the reason is, why are they not tax compliant? That was the thing which I wanted to examine. So the problem statement is as follows. SMEs constitute 95% of our informal sector, in which approximately 7.4 billion is circulating when the country is facing liquidity challenges. SMEs are not complying or are failing to meet the revenue collections obligation. This research empirically investigated determinants of SME tax compliance in Zimbabwe. So I've got only 3 objectives. So the first objective is to examine whether economic factors also influence the compliance by SMEs, and also to examine or explore whether psychological factors also have contribution on tax compliance, and lastly, to see if institutional factors such as size of these SMEs have got also influence on tax compliance. So I've brought this research hypothesis because my model have got clustered variables, so to speak. So I will take your time probably to go through this together. So I'm hypothesizing that there is a negative relationship between tax rates and tax compliance. as we have just explained. So it means that if we are being taxed highly, tax payers are likely to avoid tax. Then hypothesis 2, there is a positive relation between tax audits, fines and penalties and tax compliance. I think Commissioner General said something that they are working closely with the Auditor General to embrace issues to do with the tax audits. Then hypothesis 3, there is a negative relationship between the level of inflation and tax compliance. If inflation is increasing, individuals are likely to not to comply because they don't want to sacrifice their income. Then hypothesis 4, there is a positive relation between level of actual income and tax compliance. 5, there is a negative relation between the level of compliance cost and tax compliance. So if compliance cost increases, people they choose not to submit their returns. Then there's a positive relationship between liquidity and tax compliance. There's a positive relationship between profitability and tax compliance. There's a positive relationship between the role of the authority, which is tax authority, and tax compliance. There's a negative relationship between corruption and tax compliance. If the corruption index is very high, people are likely not to comply. Then there's a positive relationship between industry and tax compliance. Here we are hypothesizing that probably some industries, they are better monitored than other industries to an extent that they comply by virtue of being in that particular industry. Then there's a positive relationship between perceived fairness and equity and also tax compliance. And lastly, there is a positive relationship between perception of government spending and tax compliance. If we know how the government will spend our money, compliance will not be an issue. So these are the hypotheses of the study, but they've been grouped into into these 3: economic, psychological, and institutional factors. Those are 12 variables. So just a little bit of literature review. Tax compliance can be subdivided into 2: technical and administrative tax compliance. And by technical compliance, we are referring to a scenario whereby taxpayers are able to use the tax laws and regulations in submitting their taxes. While administrative is whereby they will be required to file their tax returns in good time. That is administrative and technical tax. So this is the model, the empirical model of this study. So we are assuming that economic factors, psychological factors, and institutional factors have impact on tax compliance. Then I borrowed only 2 theories of tax compliance, but theories of tax compliance, they are not limited to 2. But I'm going to explain only these 2. According to the first model, which is referred to as deterrence theory, it was proposed by those authors. The assumption is that taxpayers are utility maximizers. They want also to maximize utility in the function of paying tax. And therefore, they have necessary knowledge of tax penalties and detection rates. They know the penalties which are in the system and also the chances of them to be caught if they are to avoid or evade, so to speak, tax. So D, as you can see, is the declared income. This is the income which the taxpayer may choose to declare. But the taxpayer may declare D while they have earned I. So I is the fixed income earned by the taxpayer. But they may choose not to declare I, they choose to declare D because of certain reasons. So T is the tax rate at which D will be taxed upon, and P is the chance that hidden income will be detected, and F is the fine that will be attracted if hidden income has been discovered. Therefore, D is a function of income plus tax rate plus the chance of being detected plus the fine which will be attracted if the hidden income could have been detected. So it's a game which will be actually taking place. If the Zimra is to intensify audits and fines, then it will comply. If they don't, then it will maximize by avoiding. Because know that any hidden income will not be picked. So this is what these theories have actually said. Maybe just to support them with another theory of Aum views provision of public goods and services as interpreted. They interpret the provision of public goods by the government as a contractual obligation between taxpayers and the government. So if the government is to provide public goods and services, then the taxpayers will also pay. So there's a contractual relationship. So if the government happen not to do its part, then the taxpayers also may choose not to. So it's a game. So I borrowed also this theory and also from the proponents of game theory. So it's a game which will be taking place. So if you provide it, we also pay. If you don't provide it, we also don't pay. So there's a contractual relationship between the taxpayers and the government. Okay. So the methodology of this start, I used the positivist research approach, and a deductive research approach was also incorporated with a sample size of 250 registered SMEs. Then a sample size of 250 was actually used because of the fact that it was difficult to have access to data. Then the result of the study was then analyzed using a starter package for data analysis. This is the empirical model. So this is the model which I'm trying to test. So it is tax compliance is a function of all those. So there's compliance which can actually be achieved without any of these beta 1, beta 2, beta 3 up to beta 12. So individuals are likely to pay a certain amount, or Zimra is likely to get something, even though all these factors are not considered. There are some other taxpayers who are naturally going to pay tax without all these variables being considered, so to speak. But this is the model. Discussion of results. Results from this study showed that corruption, compliance cost, tax rate, they have negative relationship to tax compliance. If there's high level of corruption and there's high tax rate, compliance will become an issue. Then on the other hand, fairness and equity, perception of government spending, role of tax authority, income level, and tax audits, fines and penalties showed a positive relationship with the tax compliance. So here are the recommendations. We are recommending, why are we having the first recommendation? Because for me it was very difficult to have access to data because individuals were not willing to provide with this information. That's why we have limited our sample size to 250. But I'm hoping that if we are to work this research together with Zimra, we'll be able to get better results. So we are actually recommending that there should be a joint research between the University of Zimbabwe and Zimra concerning taxation issues. Then also tax authorities to play a significant role in improving first the credibility of the tax system so that it might be viewed as a fair and transparent system by taxpayers in order to encourage or to put in place voluntary compliance. Then it is also advisable to lower down the tax rate so as to convert non-compliant taxpayers through reducing tax burden and hence widening the tax base. Since the two, we can also use the lower rate to achieve the same. So we need to reduce the burden and also share. Higher tax rate structure deters many potential taxpayers to comply owing to proportion of their income they need to sacrifice for them to be said that they are compliant. So this marks the end of it. So these are the references of the study. Thank you.
Wow. I can only say wow, because I come from a very, very arts background. Ku high school, taipura maticha emesine reken. And when I came here, you know, that's where I belong. We could dance, we used to dance Michongoyo, we used to dance Bakumba and this and that. That's where I belong. So when he was talking about regression model, I got so confused. And I said, how am I going to look at the issues raised? And I looked for an assistant, because this is not my area. May I kindly ask Moses Chamisa to please come and help me. He's from our research team.
takangojaira zvekudhenza pabeit hall. But if you ask me to argue my case, I'm the bad.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Morning.
Morning, Commissioner. Morning, Prof. Thank you, Mr. Tazishaya. This has been a very, very, very well-researched and eye-opening research. I would like to say, before I give so much or so many comments, I would like to say, actually, this is one of my researches, area that I'm touching on. I'm also doing my PhD with MSU. So I'm actually looking at such issues. So I think one of your recommendations to say we need a joint research effort between Zimra and the university, not only the University of Zimbabwe, but tertiary institutions in Zimbabwe. I think it really makes some sense to me, because some of these things, we cannot have a situation where we only say we have a big, small to medium enterprise or a shadow economy. But one of my challenges that I want to give you is the University of Zimbabwe, and maybe Zimra is an institution. We don't want to just say we have so much people who are in the shadow informal sector, but we don't know the size of the informal sector and its tax potential. We should take our research further to say, what's the size of this informal sector? From that, what's the tax potential? So that when you are arguing or making policies, we are having evidence-based arguments, evidence-based or driven policies. Like what we have done, Mr. Tazishaya, we now have an empirical evidence, not just thumb-sucking to say, we are losing so much from the informal sector, from the MECs. But now we are saying that what are the factors that are causing these ones? They might be more than what we've looked at. If you see, you've looked at the psychological, the economic, and maybe the institutional, the other social issues that affect tax compliance. So we need to do further, and we need to share more and try to put to the model, refine to the model, not just looking at only the ordinary list squares like what you have said, but even further to do some structural equation modeling to say what really caused this. It will be to do using other models like the augmented distributed or auto-regressive distributed lag model to say what is happening to this. So I think with this, I would like to say thank you for this opportunity. Thank you so much for this well-informed research. Thank you, University of Zimbabwe. I think from this, we are going to have more partnerships into research, not only on tax compliance, but we need, like what the professor said, that we need innovation. We need to make our creativity, to attach some weight to our creativity. And that's how it starts. We cannot start from just running. We start step by step. Without taking much time, I would like to say we need to see more partnerships, and starting now. It should not be something that is going to say after 5 years. We have to start now. We have to catch this partnership young. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, ma'am.
So we have researchers here, so the two of you can do a bilateral and agree on what you will do. Okay, we move on with our program. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to ask our taxation guru, our Commissioner for Domestic Taxes, Mr. Rabek Masaire, to come and do his presentation. Thank you. Thank you, Events Director. Thank you, ED. That's the reaction I was looking for. ED is Events Director.
Vice-Chancellor, Commissioner General. Allow me not to say a lot of salutations. If you don't mind, I could go deep into the presentation and quickly discuss the issue of taxation. As you see on the board, I do have a summary of the issue that I want to present. Who is Zimra? What animal is this? Is it an animal? And what has it been set up for? We obviously have some roadmap that guide us in terms of our execution of our responsibility. That's our strategic map. I'm also going to talk about the different types of taxes that we are expecting from every one of us. Then what is also critical and important is for us to share views on why it is important for us to pay taxes, as well as the Zimra's view of what taxes are being used for. And most importantly, we recognize that there is always the future. And we believe it's time for us to share on what we think our future is looking like. Who is Zimra? Zimra is a combination of the then Department of Taxes and the Department of Customs and Excise. It's a creature of Parliament, which is a parastatal under the Ministry of Finance and Economic Development. Government, in its wisdom, found it necessary to create Zimra in order to provide important and autonomy so that we could be more effective and collect the taxes that are so critical for our economy. What are the type of taxes that we expect or that are supposed to be paid? We've got the income tax, which we have abbreviated CIT, that is corporate income tax, pay-as-you-earn, withholding taxes, and presumptive taxes, intermediated money transfer taxes, popularly known as the 2% tax. All these are provided for or supported by the Income Tax Act, Chapter 2306. It could probably be misleading to talk about CIT alone, because we know in here there are people that are enterprising. There are those of our colleagues who have found themselves engaged in some commercial activity. We expect that at your personal level, you should be contributing to this fiscus through your personal income tax, not your pay-as-you-earn. In other words, I'm talking about those of us who are fortunate enough to be involved in a business of one type or another. We are expected to contribute to income tax. And then the corporate tax refers to the companies that are formally registered with the register of companies, that as soon as you get registered, you are expected to be contributing to tax. Then the pay-as-you-earn, that's for the employee, where we have the final deduction system. Final deduction system refers to where we are saying the employer has got the obligation to determine with close level of accuracy how much each employee is expected to pay during the course of the year. And the Zimra would then come and verify those deductions as and when the situation requires for us to do that. Presumptive taxes is largely that type of tax that applies to some of our taxpayers who are in the category that Mr. Mshaya has just presented, where it is not so easy for those that do not have structured ways of running their business to be able to prepare financial statements, to be able to do tax returns on a regular basis. So we then use the presumptive tax approach. We presume that you are expected to make a certain level of profitability that we then are expected to contribute on a quarterly basis, that type of tax. Capital gains tax refers to the taxes that are payable out of the disposal of your immovables and some of your movables. Your immovables, to the extent of your properties that you get rid of from time to time, is capital gains tax. You would also have securities, that is your shares, whether listed on the stock exchange or not listed on the stock exchange, and the other defined securities that, as and when you dispose, are liable to capital gains tax. Value-added tax is one of the major taxes revenue earner that we rely on in terms of our revenue generation activities. It is from both domestic business as well as importations that create that type of tax. You will have customs and excise duty, where you are referring to those that import goods into Zimbabwe would be liable to customs duty, and for those that are responsible for producing excisable products like your beers and your tobaccos and those other so-called sin products, you will be expected to account for excise duty. Why is it important to pay taxes? Government revenue. You will see as we proceed with the presentation some of the examples where these taxes have been applied to. There are those who have more than the others. The government has got the social obligation to try and play the balancing equation, to redistribute the income from the haves to the have-not. Otherwise, sharing and making sure that those that do not have do benefit from the economic activities of those that are fortunate enough to have. And then the reallocation of resources, protecting the local industry. I've referred to customs and excise duty. The government do have a responsibility of making sure that we remain competitive, encourage productivity, influence economic behavior and social behavior. And this is done through the fiscal policies. Where government sees certain behavior that's not desirable, it is through the tax legislation or customs legislation that government can then come up with measures that should influence the desired behavior from the society. As we work on our mandate of collecting revenue to the fiscus, we have found it necessary, or it is best practice, for us to work out on what our journey is. We have developed a 5-year strategic plan, 2019 to 2023. Our strategic plan is guided by the government vision, the 2030. Obviously, the government vision does have its outcomes in terms of how we are expected to contribute to the achievement of vision in 2030. And out of the transitional plan by government, we identified areas that we thought we needed to be focusing on. Ease of doing business. There is nothing better than making sure that taxpayers can pay their taxes with less paying in the comfort of their business premises. We are also expected to make sure that we restore fiscal balance by making sure that we contribute or raise as much revenue as is possible. For those that have been able to care enough and listen to Minister Mtuli, he has talked about the budget surplus. I think it is through the efforts of collecting and the taxpayers' contribution to revenue that achieves that. And another key issue is to make sure that we minimize on revenue leakages. I do have on our strategic map, that map there is a summary of our strategy for the next 5 years. That summary gives us what our mission is, our vision is, which is clear, and I would want to talk to some of the key and important aspects of our vision. I remember VC talking about innovation. We believe that for us to remain relevant, for us to remain successful, we need to be innovative. We believe that we need to be transparent in whatever work we do. Integrity is critical for us to succeed. The last presentation, in as far as some of the observations or hypothesis, was that corruption has got a negative relationship with compliance. We believe we need to have integrity in the way we do our work, transparency, and commitment. To achieve, we do have set ourselves 4 outcomes. Maximizing of revenue is one of our key outcomes is Zimra. We're also looking at our image as an organization. I believe once we do have an image that you are proud of, you find it easier to contribute to revenue. You want to be associated with an organization who's got the right image. We set ourselves objectives that are designed to create the image that every single Zimbabwean or citizen or even the world over would be proud to be associated with. Voluntary compliance. We recognize that even though the law requires or provides an obligation to every single person to pay their taxes, we do have limited resources. We have limited capacity for us to follow through every single taxpayer. We have to rely on the will of the taxpayer to have that desire to contribute to the national fiscus. That then leaves us time to explore cases where we think there is either need for further education, the need for us to check on the scope for whether there is any undesired tax planning activities. But most importantly, we need to continue to work together like we are doing now to make sure that at the end of the day, we rely more on your own initiative, your own responsibility to contribute to the fiscus. We need to protect the society against undesired elements, undesired social behaviors, drugs, pornography, arms, security, some of our key responsibilities by protecting society against these. Ladies and gentlemen, those are our outcomes that we are measured against periodically. To do that, we obviously, I'll talk about the rest of the strategic map. And the issues that are important. Our strategic map is underpinned by the 4 P's that the Commissioner General alluded to. One of the most important P's that we value as we do our work is our people. We believe we need to have a robust and reliable talent pipeline in terms of what we want to be doing. Are our people sufficiently trained? do we have enough programs that allow for the future? VC, we thank you for taking the initiative by starting to develop those skills that would then take to sharpen further than you would have done. We do have programs that are designed to deal with that. We think it's important to keep our people highly motivated, clearly defined career path. You'll see as I go on with the presentation what our desired textbook professional should be. We think that it is important to have this kind of relationship like the one we are having today, where we are able to engage and share ideas, work on areas like the last presentation. We are at that time of the year where we are making contributions to the Minister of Finance as he prepares for his national budget. And one topical area that we are working on is the one to do with tax compliance in the informal sector. We find it very necessary to continuously work on programs that enable or facilitate business. My processes that we have must be friendly enough, should be simple enough, should be easily accessible by our stakeholders and not only the taxpayer, for them to be able to either make the right decision. We find it necessary that as we look at improving ourselves, we have the project approach. The map we have there is summarizing our physical presence in the country. Where do you find Zimra? Currently we are structured. We continue to work on our structure as depicted, divided into regions, obviously, because we need to continuously reflect and say, is the structure that we are operating the best of structures? And we are in the process of redesigning ourselves, rejuvenating ourselves. And the map you're seeing on the board will shortly change to reflect on how we think we could be more effective through restructuring. Over the years, the graph on the board is showing the relationship between the revenue that has been generated and the government expenditure. It's unfortunate that we continue to see a decline on the relationship. We are challenged to make sure that we continue to innovate, we continue to engage in the relationships, in programs, in seminars such as the one we have today, for us to make sure that that graph does not continue to decline. We obviously are aware that we have seen a proliferation of institutions of learning. Government has got the responsibility to provide, like our Commissioner General said earlier on, facilities for those that are not privileged enough to be able to go to the expensive schools. Our hospitals need to be fully resourced, and they can only be resourced. And we need to largely rely on domestic resources. You cannot deliver effectively through placing reliance on other sources of revenue. You will recall that the nation was unfortunate during the earlier times, during the earlier month of the year, where we had a disaster in the eastern parts of the country. And you remember at some point, our minister and permanent secretary sharing with us and saying, I don't know whether it's popular or notorious or not so unpopular, 2% tax, but I would say it's popular because it's providing the necessary scope for government to deal with the issues of disaster as the one that happened in Chimanimani. The picture we have there is another one that says we need to remain relevant, not only in Zimbabwe, to make sure that the tax revenue that we generate, that we collect, is used for industrialization, for doing our bridges, for creating the future we want. The Harare we desire to have. How do we do that? How do we get there? A relationship with our institutions of higher learning. We do provide scope for us to create the necessary skills pipeline by exposing the students to tax administration, either technical, support services, in a wide range of areas. Scholarships, we do have a corporate social responsibility program. I'm sure there are beneficiaries that use it. Mr. Chagasiga? Yeah, CG?
Yes, we handed laptops to 5 students a few weeks ago.
Yeah, she's just saying for the benefit of those behind there, a few weeks ago they were beneficiaries of that corporate social responsibility. I'm sure in Zgi, we are going to be launching very soon some interesting relationship in terms of a tax competition. All this is desired to make sure that we create a framework that is good, that is inclusive, that nurtures the student we want, that nurtures the professional we want, that nurtures the future we want. Tailor-made degree programs, we need to continuously engage and say, are we very happy in terms of the way our curricula is designed? Is there scope for us to continue to work together and say, given the complexity, the dynamism of the economic society, the continuous change in the economic landscape, can we continue to rely on the old way or traditional way of tax administration? Or we need to start thinking and having those relationships that resonates with the current business trends. So in other words, all we are simply saying is, yes, we need to say, is the accountancy degree program sufficiently designed to deal with the tax issue? The research network, Chamisa has acknowledged the work that has been done. And most importantly, I'm proud to be a Zimra employee, and I want everybody to be, what, jealous? Or envy me? Employer of choice. How do we achieve some of these issues? We have, as we deliver, we'll start working on our strategic plan. These are some of the areas that will be our areas of focus. Our taxpayers, we do recognize that everybody's business is unique in its own way. And you cannot apply same rules across the board. You run the risk of losing some in the process. So we find it necessary to adopt the taxpayer segmentation approach. We think that because of technology Yes, we are geographically placed. We could still look at situations where we can operate from anywhere. Create technological presence, virtual tax administration. We want to be able to know and understand our taxpayer. 360-degree. What are the relationships? What is the type of income? What is the nature of the business? Is there any area that we do not understand? What is very key and most important was for us to know and understand our client. You all have heard about know your client. The fiscal reforms are in ongoing. Collect transactional taxes. The thinking we have is, at the time of transaction, the thinking we are having is the traditional way has always been to rely on the positive behavior of the taxpayer and allow them to collect and apply the revenues to their business before they pay over to the fiscus. Is that the best way to do it, especially in times where technology is prevailing? We think there's scope for us to continue and interrogate that and say improve on tax administration. The use of risk engine, I've already alluded to voluntary compliance. We can't rely on taxing everybody. We just need to make sure that we have a reliable risk management process. Yeah. These are some of our views in terms of expediting or improving the way we administer tax revenue. It's not everybody who has got time to come to Zimra. We want the taxpayer to be able to access our offices from any part of the world. We want to use technology for security at our points of entry and exit. We want to be able to have an online service, use scanners, use mobile services to deliver. What I have in our next presentation is just a summary of where we want to go as we automate our processes. These are some of our dreams that we think there's scope for us to work together, VC, and see what products are available in the market for us to innovate. The desired tax professional is one that is capable of portraying the required image. You will leave the university with your new qualification. You would have a personal responsibility at your personal level to comply with tax legislation and pay your taxes. You will go into an organization where you would have a responsibility to administer the tax function. We believe you can only effectively do your job if you are properly equipped, properly trained. Hence the need for us to have this kind of conversation, a conversation that allows and provides for us to continue to interrogate the current framework and say, is there scope for us to do it differently? I thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Masaire. Can we give him another round of applause? Manetaire. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. From the presentation, I'm sure you have a lot of questions, whether from the presentation or from taxation in general. I'm going to take 3 questions at a time. Mr. Chamisa, please help me take the questions. And then we have a team of experts from the Zimbabwe Revenue Authority who are here to answer all your questions. As you heard from the Commissioner General, the UZ staff are also benefiting from this. So we are expecting questions from both students and staff. First question. Let's have questions. Yes, sir. Maybe you can say out your name and then for the benefit of everyone.
Good morning. Thank you. My name is Dr. Mkumbuzi from the Graduate School of Management, our business school. My question is to do with international trade. And in particular, international treaties. It covers the commodities of mining and agriculture. The question relates to the share ownership schemes as introduced by the new dispensation as we go forward under Vision 2030. What steps are we taking as Zimra in order to ensure that our raw materials are not sold for a song? The second question is to do with capital gains taxation on shares and taxation on corporate dividends. As an investor, you have the choice of realizing your gains either through the sale of your shares or through the receipt of dividends. The various taxation rates applied to capital gains on shares and revenue received in dividends has an impact on the choice of shares or dividends. What steps are we taking as Zimra in order to equate this particular balance? Thank you.
Thank you so much. We want one more question so that we can combine them.
Thank you. My name is Rodney Down.
Sorry about that. We have another microphone. Okay, another question actually. So we'll come to you, sir.
Hello. Mine is a quick one. You know, after working for many years, my name is Dr. Peter Kwaya from Faculty of Education. From the 1980s, working in our system, I've suddenly began to lose faith in our systems. Because Zimra is part of a system. Us here, as a university, we are part of a system. I think we are going to have an uphill struggle to regain faith in our systems. For example, most of us, after working for all these years, we came to 2009 when we dollarized our economy. And you and I, if you're working from that time, we've been earning US dollars. Not stealing, but earning. Paying our taxes every time faithfully. You could go to the ATM, withdraw your money easily. But all of a sudden, 2017, 18, somewhere there, I lost it all. I feel sorry for my colleagues who have gone on some, retirement. They have retired into poverty. They have become paupers in their own economy after contributing faithfully. Now, how do you explain this?
Thank you
so much. Thank you, sir. We'll take those 3 questions. Okay, I'm told we can combine with 1 quick one to make them 4. Yes, sir? We took the microphone from him, please.
Thank you. My name is Mr. Ndamba. I'm a lecturer in the Department of Accountancy. My question is directed to the Commissioner General and also the fiscal strategies within Zimra as well. When do we see Zimra shifting from labor-based tax systems to natural resources or value extracted systems? Because these are the systems you find in developed countries. Then my second one is also the shift from when do we see a shift, particularly from the traditional tax systems. This is actually coming from the presentation that has just been done from Zimra. And when I looked at a lot of the stuff that was there, is still very much more within the confines of traditional tax systems. So my question is directed to the Commissioner General. When do we see a shift from this system to more responsible taxation fiscal systems? Based on the data that is actually on Zimra's website, what we noted in terms of green taxation in Southern Africa, we find that from 2010, Zimra has been collecting less than 1% in terms of green taxation, but within the region, the average ranges between 4 to 6%. If you look at Rwanda, which is collecting about 6.5%. And this still reflect that I think our tax system is still very much more within the traditional tax systems, whereas others are moving to responsible taxation. So when do we see a shift from this? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Chamisa, can I have the microphone? I will ask the Commissioner General to do some interventions.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for those questions. I thought it is necessary for us to make this intervention so that we have a fuller understanding of the role of the Zimbabwe Revenue Authority as a tax administration institution, separate from, though we have a role to advise, and also for you, for the institution to take that responsibility cooperatively, like we were saying, in the partnership that we are starting, to influence policy. The Zimbabwe Revenue Authority is a tax administration institution. Unfortunately, I'm not a lecturer, so my voice is limited, but I will use my preaching voice. Okay, thank you. So, in as much as I understand and we relate to the issues that have been raised as the Zimbabwe Revenue Authority, I would like to just give a word of caution to say that we don't have the full answers to all the questions that you've raised. But we as citizens, as we are sitting here, have the responsibility and obligation to take this up with the policymakers. And the policymakers are not just the Minister of Finance, because we have a number of issues which are coming up because of other industrial and other political policies that are being developed for the country. And I think we may not provide full answers. So let me, before I give to my team, just very quickly go through the issues. I hope I'll address them fully together with the team. The first question was on international trade and treaties as opposed to the share, looking at the share ownership schemes. That is again another a very clear policy issue. The policy, the position that the government has taken is to open up the country for FDI, foreign direct investment. That policy acknowledges that we don't have the full capacity to provide the capital that we need. And we are actually trying to attract the capital. In some cases, it will be also to attract the labor, but for us, that is actually not a problem, especially where we have institutions like the UZ. So when we are looking at foreign direct investment, we are actually going for a partnership where we are saying we are weak in this, but we are attracting partners who will then bring in. For us, what is key is the capital as well as the technology. We have lagged behind in terms of technology, and we need to ensure that we partner with investors that are coming to provide that. And the concern that I hear is that we are giving our businesses or business opportunities for a song. That is because we may not have done our full study. And from a tax point of view and customs point of view, we see that in the concessions that are given to businesses that are coming in, and what we do on our part as an administration is that we calculate what we call the tax expenditure, the tax forgone in giving away those concessions. What is lacking in Zimbabwe, which we are advising government on, is that we need to then say, if we have brought in a company that is not paying tax or paying tax at a lower level rate, what is it that they are bringing, and are we getting our full value of what they are taking out? So that is one area that those who are economists in this institution should challenge the government on, because we are giving our labor, and normally African labor is very cheap. We are giving away. We are giving our resources, natural resources, but who is quantifying and ensuring that we are getting the full value back? We are, yes, trying to attract the capital, whether it's money or technology or machinery or whatever. Are we really getting the full value of what we are supposed to have? I think we have areas where people complain that trade from China, the Chinese bring even their cooks, and they then take away everything. This is just somebody's observation, but who is doing that study? So as a university, I think this is an area that you need to advise the government to ensure that we get our full value. If we show you our tax expenditure figures, I think at the last time, the first half, we had 9 billion worth of tax expenditures, that concessions that are given to companies that are coming to invest here, which should have been revenue on our part. So that's all that we can do as an administration. Okay? So it's a challenge for all of us, and let's do it. The other policies may be influenced by other considerations, but they are, these have to be taken collectively as a government. Then there was a question on capital gains tax on shares and dividends. Again, I would not claim to be qualified to say what is best for us as a country, especially where we are in an environment where investment is not very attractive. I think he explained why people are not investing. We lost everything. For me, I had an education policy, I had a retirement annuity, when I started working in 1983, but I don't have anything. The best I get is a statement of dividends with 21 cents from Old Mutual. So those are unfortunate situations. But let me say, from a taxation point of view, the shares are taxed. When you sell shares, you are actually seen as somebody who is disposing of a capital asset. which is expected to bring in revenue on a continuous basis, as you are holding, and it depends on the sector you have and the productivity of that sector and other things. Whereas on the other hand, dividends are the income that is coming. So this can only be considered in a platform where the government is looking at, do we want to attract investment? Do we want to encourage savings, and so leave the people with the investments in shares, so that it can then be applied to support companies and generate production. So all those are industrial considerations that are made, and the rates that are applied are actually meant to influence either or the other. And yes, you are right, you have to then make a decision. The question is, do you want to sell your shares? Do you think in 5 years' time you'll have something from them? If you don't, then you go and sell, but you have sold a capital asset. So there are a number of considerations that we have, and the economy that we are in right now is a very difficult one for us to then, as individuals, to then say what taxation level should we. And this is something that policy should be influencing. Lack of faith in the system. I would like to join you to voice the issues that we have, but I'm not qualified to talk to them. If you would allow me, because I'm not a policy maker on that. There is monetary policy, there is fiscal policy, there is industrial policy, there is political consideration. So it's a much bigger issue than we can address in this students' unfortunately.
That's why I said it's a task.
It's a task that, and I like it that you say it's something that you, both UZ and Zimra need to look at as we influence and take our place in the other sectors. Shifting from labor-based, this one I didn't capture it well. Actually the last two, shifting from the traditional to the responsible taxation. What I can just say is maybe one person who managed to capture, I think I got distracted on that one, can respond. But what I wanted to say is, yes, we have been very traditional because we have not developed our technology capacity, our automation capacity. But we are moving now. If you saw some of those 12 objectives that we have, they are more IT-based. Our IT base is very low. Our systems are not working well, but we are now moving towards the use of third-party information, accessing our data and utilizing that data. We are now going to be recruiting from the institution. We want data analysts, researchers, and others. So this will change the way we are going to be focusing on the taxation. I don't know, I feel I haven't done justice to the last two. If somebody feels they understood the question, they can respond.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
So let's try and avoid the more policy issues and focus on the tax administration issues, unless we are looking at our advisory roles.
Thank you. The two issues that my Commissioner General left out from you, sir. The first one is the shift from, you said, labor-based to the value addition system?
Natural resources and value extractions.
Right, okay. Now, if you look at the presentation that Commissioner Taxis gave us,
he gave a profile
for
of different types of
He did give a profile for the sort of taxes that we currently have. I think broadly you can group these into direct taxes and indirect taxes. I think under the indirect taxes you have mostly the consumption taxes. Your reference to our perhaps bias towards the labor-based taxes, perhaps you would have looked at the profile of our, or the composition of the taxes that we collect. I'm sure you did that. where you would have found that pay as you earn perhaps contributes more than 30% of the total revenues. And I'm saying this to try and reconcile with your point or recommendation to say, why don't we then focus on the taxes on natural resources, which we already do. And this is why we have, to those that extract natural resources, we have a plethora of taxes that apply, whether it's company tax, whether it's pay as you earn, also applies. But I think the focus is to say in natural resources, how is the best way of taxing? In this case, we look at the focus on taxing the net rent, because it's a unique sector where you don't just look at the other taxes, you look at the net rent that the investor derives from the sector. These natural resources are depleted, or they're depletable, they're non-renewable. So we look at how best do we tax the net rent, how do we best recoup or recover that heritage that we have in our natural resources. So I think we then focus on, do we have that policy in Zimbabwe which captures adequately the net rent that we have, whether it's diamonds, gold. So it goes, technically when you talk of it, it goes to the person to say, the tax instruments that we have to tax the natural resources, are we applying them, or do we have them adequately? Are we applying the standard or good practice in terms of the tax rules in that sector? Are we focusing more on royalties, for example, which would mean that whether or not a company declares a loss, we have collected revenue, because it doesn't matter whether a diamond miner or gold miner makes a profit, but we charge and collect the royalties based on the value of what they extract, whether or not they make a profit. So it's those things that I'm sure you are looking at. And I'm not talking of minerals only, natural resources, not just minerals, natural resources. It could be timber, natural timber, it could be any other natural. So briefly, it's an issue that we all need to focus on to say, do we give away to attract FDI, or we need to adequately tax the resources, and what sort of model do we have to adopt as Zimbabwe in taxation of natural resources? The other issue that you did raise, the issue of green taxes. Perhaps to those that may want to understand, green taxes, we are looking at the taxes that are designed to compensate or that are designed to address the harm that is done to the environment. In our case, we do have the carbon tax. Yeah, we collect carbon tax based on a liter of fuel, whether it's diesel or petrol. So I think your question is to say, do we adequately collect revenue which is biased or geared towards addressing the environment issues? Perhaps it's a question that needs research. I know you use the benchmarks to say we are around less than 2%, but you alluded to Rwanda having 6% or thereabout. Yes, correct, but I think relatively we need to look at what are the taxes other than the environment taxes do we also collect. So you go to the profile of the taxes that we collect as a country, because ours may differ from Rwanda, because we have more taxes from royalties of minerals, because we have many of them compared to, for example, Rwanda. So the component of the green taxes may, in absolute terms, be low, but in relative terms, in terms of the percentage, become high. So I think, in short, we have a focus to address that, not just as Zimra, but you also have EMA, which comes into play. I think EMA was created to address the environment issues, and I think we work together in trying to then come up with policies that, again, it's not a policy issue that we address, we only recommend, and in this case, we actually administer by collecting the the tax. In short, the reform that we had in the green taxes, we used to pay carbon tax based on the vehicle. Believe me, back then we used to collect 0.0 something percent. But we did a reform to move from a vehicle-based tax system or collection system to say, let's collect that equivalent from the border post every liter that comes through. So you are not having people joining the queues to pay carbon tax per vehicle, because out of the vehicles you would have only 1/4 pay. Others would just, but every liter that comes through, because you pay that to the capacity of the engine, which pollutes the environment. If you do it per liter, you're taking care of everything. So that's the reform that we did in that regard. But suffice to say, yes, we are prepared to get recommendations, or rather, Ministry of Environment, together with Ministry of Finance, they are open to suggesting, especially evidence-based researches that build into the research-based policies. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chakasipa. Our time is moving. Can I have 4 students to ask questions? 1, 2, 3, 4, in that order.
Thank you. My name is Mtabisi Lamini. I'm doing accounting. So my question is directed to the Commissioner of Taxes. Upon his presentation, he mentioned something about benefits sprouting from the 4 pillars of Zimra. So he talked of some people benefiting about last week. So I was wondering, is it possible that you could actually highlight what kind of benefits these are and how they are communicated? Because we're just hearing about them right now, so that we know maybe next time if such benefits arise, we also go through. Thank you.
Second question. Thank you. My name is Moblessing Oshe. I'm doing accounting. My question is on 2% tax. When the Commissioner General was presenting, he gave us 4 types of taxes that are available in Zimbabwe, which are income tax, capital gains tax, VAT, customs, and exercise duties. My question is, where does the 2% tax fit? That's the first question. The second question is, it's now when Mr. Chair was presenting, he said the reason why people don't want to comply is that there is no transparency what these taxes are being used for. It's now 1 year since these taxes, 2% tax is being collected. Are we going to have an account of, like we have collected so much and this 7 billion, 8 billion is going to be used for this and that? And then the other question is on tailor-made taxation degree programs. Where are these degrees being offered? Thank you.
Thank you. Third question. Can we ask just one question so that we give each other equal opportunity?
Okay, thank you. My name is Chatwa Vitamaweni. My question is, are there any tax reliefs on real estate, on startup real estate developers?
Thank you. The last, somewhere there, who was raising her hand? Yes.
Thank you so much. I'm Yofesha Pongo. I'm doing accounting. I wanted to ask if the payment of payee and IMTT is not double taxation.
Thank you. We have a team of experts. Zimra. Whilst they are preparing, after the answers, I would like the 4 of you to just come and receive some gifts for asking questions. How is that? So these 4 will get something.
Thank you. Yeah, the transparency around the benefits of the corporate social responsibility program, I think I will leave that to my colleague to deal with. The 2% tax, where does it belong? I hope I understood the question clearly, because if I pick it up from the other issues you raised around that, I pick it to say under which of the existing tax legislation framework does it fall. It is covered by the Income Tax Act, and the rates are provided by the Finance Act, right? So in other words, it is in the same category of the corporate taxes, your pay-as-you-earn, your withholding taxes that are provided by the Income Tax Act. And then the use of whether we are going to have it publicized or accounted for, I would say that is ordinarily the responsibility of the Treasury, that is the Minister of Finance, who will definitely share, in my view, with us in terms of how this 2% has been applied. But I think from time to time, Treasury publishes a report on revenue expenditures. And you will recall from my presentation, I alluded to the disaster, Cyclone Idai in Manicaland, where the Minister and the Permanent Secretary are on record sharing the extent to which government has been able to come to the party to help those that were so unfortunate and got affected by that. In terms of the partnership about the degree programs, we do have something that is running with other universities. There is the University of Science and Technology. They have a fiscal studies degree program. It's two. Yeah. Yeah, it's both undergrad and master's programs. And we have been having conversations even at UZ on whether we want to continue in that area, or sorry, to extend the program to other universities, including the university. The issue of startups for those in the real estate, our current legislation framework does not have a specific benefits or incentives for those that are in this sector, but from a general tax legislation framework, you have those that are starting the business ordinarily would incur capital expenditure, which is not, from a tax perspective, allowable as a tax deduction, but you will be eligible to claim capital allowances that are related to the investment into the business that provides the relief for the first 3 years of your business. In other words, there are also other areas that are important as you engage in this type of a business, where you have specific legislation because you have followed due procedure through the necessary government structures, where a scheme could benefit from incentives because it is designed to address a special social need. We do have those kind of facilities. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. To address the corporate social responsibility question, we did give away 5 laptops, like the Commissioner General said, but we had 3 students from the UZ. I think the other 2 were from the other institutions. Perhaps just to indicate that, okay, from the 3, I think 2 of them were females. That's the profile of the student. Just to give a background, the money that we use towards the corporate social responsibility is not the money that comes from Ministry of Finance for us to spend. It's the money that comes either from the pockets of the staff or we collectively fundraise to have that fund. Actually, we have a charity, Zimra Charity Trust. No, Zimra Charity Fund Trust, which is registered legally. So just to clarify, it's not the money that is supposed to be used for other expenses to run Zimra business. It's us out of the feeling for the other person that they need assistance. Now, in general, the question to say, how do we get to know? Let me give the criteria that we use. When we have fundraised, when we have the money in the account, we look for beneficiaries that are deserving, those that are socially and economically disadvantaged. I think if my team may confirm, I think most of those that are beneficiaries now either don't have both parents or they don't have anyone who's economically active. They would otherwise have fallen off, or they would have dropped off so as not to attend college yet. So that's the profile that we have. So we have a committee that then goes through those that will have applied. We always have applicants, and out of those we select, or the committee selects those that have the worst case situation in their life. And then they come through and we fund them. I want to believe most of you here probably have one or two people that you depend on to pay your fees. And if that's the case, you are blessed. Perhaps you wouldn't qualify for that. But if you are an orphan who probably struggles to have the fees paid, you would be one of those that qualify. But because of the situation now, we have had to drop some of the beneficiaries. And I'll tell you why. Because we would have raised money last year at 1:1 to fund the 2019 budgets for all the students. And then in February, it got up to from 1:1 up to 1:6. So the fees went up, but we had money collected last year. So because of that, unfortunately, we've had to share off. So that's sort of support that we give, but it's to those that are socially and economically disadvantaged. Thank you.
I have just been reminded by a colleague that I did not respond to the double taxation, 2%. Yeah. What do you think? Huh? Yeah, you obviously needed to understand that our taxes are structured and designed to meet different objectives, right? We do have pay as you earn, which is strictly designed for those that are earning incomes of a certain level. And the law specifically provides for pay as you earn. Then you have the 2% that the minister in his wisdom found another tax. Yes, to a certain extent, because you have already paid your pay as you earn, and when you are then transacting, you suffer this transaction tax to contribute to the fiscus. But for those that are in business, there is a capping up to a certain level beyond which it will not suffer the 2%. If you analyze that further, you clearly find out that it is a tax that is supposed to create the desired inclusivity. It must capture everyone to bring those that are not so structured into the tax bracket. For those that trade at barring, for those that transact outside the system, we do have the framework that provides for that financial inclusion. And then that's the scope for government to start raising revenue through the 2%. For those that are in formal business, it's obviously kept up to a point beyond which the tax is not suffered. And there are also specific exemptions for employers when they transmit the funds to the employees, they do not suffer the 2%. And there is obviously, at some point, the minister, when he sees he has achieved the desired result, may continue to listen to suggestions on how to streamline the tax and make sure that it achieves more than it is doing now and improves on compliance. Thank you. CG would want to add.
Okay, I'm really speaking because I want to challenge the university to give assurance to Zimbabweans on our tax system. Because I know there's been a lot of talk that Zimbabwe is the highest taxed country. But I haven't seen the evidence for that. Why is that? The tax structures or tax systems of different countries are informed by a number of issues. We have what are called consumption taxes, where we have our VAT. Then we have the other SIM taxes, where those green taxes would come, where you want to control certain behaviors. And this is where we have excise tax on telecoms, on beer, on fuel, and others. Then we have the income tax. And the income tax can be on employment, on business income, and others. The country decides which of those taxes are appropriate for the time and for the environment that there is to get enough revenue. So yes, we will have the concerns that the 2% is cascading and it is taxing tax on tax. It's a tax on tax and others. They are all arguments. But then if you look at some of the under the income tax, some of the concessions, some of which Commissioner has explained, that you are given a deduction for the investment that you have made into your business. You are given the wear and tear of your assets which are going into the business. All those are trying to relieve you of tax on some of the income, and determines what is called the marginal rate of tax. And if I can challenge the Faculty of Commerce, because in terms of rates, the tax rate, we are for corporate tax at 25%, and South Africa is at 28, Swaziland is at 27, and so is a number of the Southern African countries. But does that reflect whether we are lower or we are higher? And when we do that, some of them don't give some of these expenditures or deductions. So it's something that really requires a research into it. And the 2% came because, and that's why I chose informed or non-informed as it was, that 4 by 5. I know the person was looking for, they were looking for the broad base and whatever. But for me, what we are lacking is tax equity. There are some of us here who are sitting, or even my students, who have parents who are paying, and others who have the capacity to pay and are not paying. For me, that is not equal. And this is where we are saying, let's all pay, so that the government can start reducing the tax. Kanata badara tese, never nema business, never nema price, never nema motkari. Vaiva tukutotera nema lifestyle audit. When everybody has paid, government will have enough money, and they will not then have the 2%. But the 2% was put as a tax which is going to affect everybody, including those who are. So yes, it may not be equitable at the moment, but until such time as those who are supposed to be paying and are not paying have come up, the 2% will be necessary. The other area where the money is going is devolution, where your municipalities and your rural district councils are being given money to develop at the local areas. So it may appear unfair, and tax is not fair. But until we have built our tax capacity to that level where we have enough to go around and we can account for it appropriately, it may still be necessary to have a tax that is double taxing. It's unfortunate, but it's because the 2% then applies to even those who are transacting. That's why it's called a transaction tax. So use that, Tineba's research team, so that we give a convincing policy position to the government. Thank you.
Yes, Professor has something to say.
Thanks very much. I think you will see that I'm not speaking on behalf of Zimra. But I just thought I would raise a few points. I saw the clock getting to 12 o'clock, and I know what that means sometimes when we say we finish at a time when we have the whole executive in a room. It means something. First, I just wanted to say, to challenge our community, the university. I'm very excited to see that it is the Faculty of Commerce that's asking questions about commerce. So because I was going to ask them questions thinking they will answer me, right? But which is your academic institutions in Africa are good at identifying gaps and talking about gaps, which is a really big, stark contrast to the developed nations. So your professor, like me, stands up and says, what are we doing? What are you doing? Who? Is that a challenge enough? Right? Who are you supposing is doing something behind the wall? When you are the university, and the university is you, student. It's not me. So that's my first challenge. It doesn't need to be answered. The second one is to say, because of that orientation, we have the culture to join people in the streets to articulate, who are better articulate. Because you are learning, right? So you can articulate better what the people in the streets are saying. Even if they are saying the wrong things. You help them articulate. Because they are not informed. Where is the evidence? I think that's what the Commissioner General is saying. I think she said that in a number of different ways. To say, can we join to provide research, university, and so on. I think it's about the evidence. Where is the evidence? So we want to see in the future, we take this up, maybe focused on students. What is it that they can provide from what they are learning? Then focused on staff. What is it that the professors and doctors are doing from what they are teaching and what they are researching? Then lastly, I would want to say, I want to thank Zimra because this then provides the biggest opportunity for us to understand what we don't know about our own systems. Even the figures we quote and help the streets articulate sometimes are not founded. But they go even like wildfire on the social media. Universities should provide the evidence. So that's why I particularly value this arrangement. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor. We are wrapping up because of our time, but I'm just going to take maybe just 2 minutes to launch our essay writing competitions. We want you to participate in these essay writing competitions, and these are essays. Deadline for submission is 7 December 2019 at 4 p.m. or by 4 p.m. The length is 5 pages, 1.5 spacing, times New Roman, size 12. And eligibility is University of Zimbabwe, final year commerce students only. Participation is once You cannot choose to participate in question 1 and then question 2 and question 3 and question 4. No. You just choose one question and participate. You write your name, your institution, your program of study, your year, and selected question. And send emails to imuwonwa, that's me, at zimra.co.zw. You can also send to fchimanda or copy fchimanda@zimra.co.zw, mkufakunesu @zimra.co.zw. And our results will be out on 10 January 2020. That's early next year. We didn't want to disturb you because I know very soon you will be writing your examination. Then these are the questions. First question, discuss factors that influence non-tax compliance among the SMEs and suggest strategies that Zimra can employ to ensure they become part of the tax bracket. I will repeat. Discuss factors that influence non-tax compliance among the SMEs in Zimbabwe and suggest strategies that Zimra can employ to ensure that these SMEs become part of the tax bracket. Second question. Technology is getting the better of me here. Okay. Number 2, my young sister has been talking about the 2%. 2% intermediated money transfer tax, IMTT, is a necessary burden. Discuss. The 2% intermediated money transfer tax is a necessary burden. Discuss. That means you have to argue your way. Third question. Assess the importance of taxation on the Zimbabwean citizen, giving practical examples. Assess the importance of taxation on the Zimbabwean citizen, giving practical examples. And the last question is, with reference to the Zimbabwean economy, explain why compliance continues to be a challenge. Maybe I didn't say, I was supposed to say, and discuss ways of mitigating those challenges. So please add to that. With reference to the Zimbabwean economy, explain why compliance continues to be a challenge, and explain how Zimra can mitigate those challenges. Those are our 4 questions. And I'm just going to go to some of the prizes. These are not all. I still have to engage, forgive me for that, for the big prizes, but these are the small prizes. Zimra gift set, Kompo, that's a t-shirt, flask and mug set. I say these are the little presents, the bigger ones I'm yet to ask for approvals, because maybe we are going to take you to a holiday to UK or so, you never know. We'll give you a cap and a notebook. The essay will also be published in the Zimbra Quarterly magazine. You see, that's a CV. That's your CV being strengthened. Second prize is Zimra gift set, which includes a t-shirt, flask and mug set, and a power bank. Third prize, Zimra gift set, that is a t-shirt, flask and mug set. But this is over and above the big prizes. So I will talk to the Commissioner General for a signature for the holiday to UK. Okay, as we wrap up, can I have those 4 that asked questions to just come and receive their gifts? Quickly. You are young, energetic. Run, please. We'll give you t-shirts. You see, there's a Zimra logo, and this is our overall campaign theme. It says, my taxes, my duties, building my Zimbabwe. That's the overall campaign theme. Because besides the tax seminars, we also have other campaigns. We have road shows, we have breakfast meetings, we have this and that. Congratulations for asking questions. How do you like that? Be congratulated for just asking questions. Thank you so much. These essay questions, we are going to give them to the Department of Commerce. I'm told they will be on the platform, CIMA e-learning platform. So please, if you want something on your CV, if you want something to just write down, do that and submit by 7 December 2019. May I kindly ask Dr. Matamande, please, to come and wrap up.
Thank you. I think we've done very well on time, isn't it? Yes, very well. I now ask Dr. David Matikanda, the Dean of Commerce, to give a vote of thanks. Normally, after everything is done, vote of thanks. So I'm asking him to give a vote of thanks. Thank you.
The Commissioner General, Mrs. Mazani, the UZ Vice-Chancellor, Professor Mafumo, allow me to say all protocols observed. We have come to the end of our inaugural tax education seminar, and it is my task to provide some few closing remarks. First of all, I think it is said on my part, because I'm bringing to an end the lively and stimulating discussions that we have had this morning on an important topic to the country, namely tax. The importance of sharing experiences on current tax issues with business leaders needs no emphasis. I think it's been highlighted the importance of tax and the role that tax plays in our economy. The seminar demonstrated UZ's willingness to engage with its strategic partners and the need to work collaboratively. On our part as Commerce, we are undertaking research which we hope will be beneficial to the country and in particular to Zimra. We also hope that as we roll out our strategic plan, we shall seriously consider the need to introduce a degree in Bachelor of Fiscal Studies, which we think is of vital importance to the country and Zimra. We are also working towards professional development of public accountants, which we also hope will be beneficial to Zimra. I'm quite pleased that the deliberations this morning have been lively and constructive, and for all of us, and in particular our students as future business leaders, we now have a much better appreciation of who Zimra is and the important role that Zimra is playing as regards the taxation system in the country. Indeed, these days, fiscal policy is at the heart of economic policy debates around the world. And a key plank of the government of Zimbabwe's Transitional Stabilization Program, which is meant to stimulate economic growth and stabilize the macroeconomic environment in the country, is the tax policy. The twin problems of trade imbalances and fiscal imbalances require that the country's debt be brought down over time, and the tax policy is an important and integral instrument in both of these respects. Against the wider background, I believe the seminar met its objectives, and in closing, I would like to thank our co-host, Zimra, and in particular Commissioner General, Mrs. Mazani, for your generous support to the seminar, and I hope this will be an annual event to ensure awareness of the importance of tax and instilling tax knowledge among our student population who are tomorrow's business leaders. The seminar would not have been possible without the support of our UZ leadership for allowing us to coordinate the seminar and allowing such interaction to take place. Your active participation, VC, and your executive is greatly appreciated. I would also like to thank our students who attended this seminar and for their active participation. I would also like to thank our support staff for their efforts for making this seminar successful. And lastly, I'd like to thank the Masters of Ceremonies. Sometimes you go unnoticed, but thank you very much for putting things together and ensuring that there was free flow of discussion. And of course, I thank all the participants for your active participation in the discussions this morning. And I hope you did find the seminar very informative and useful. I thank you and God bless you all.
Thank you, Dean. Now, Ukama Igasa.